What's good, y'all, and welcome to another vid. Today's topic is how FERSSI over the last couple of months has become such a problematic character. So, yeah, the important part right here is he has a monopole on AoE damage reduction. Yes, there is Beelzebub, but yes, it is 5% stronger, but his is super conditional, as in it only works on cultist allies and it also only works during his ultimate. So there's going to be downtimes, there's going to be times where you're going to get hit, and this is the part where FERSSI is such a huge problem, because he's the only hero in the game with reliable AoE damage reduction. Like, for example, Diao has damage reduction for herself. Wow. But FERSSI is the only hero to apply AoE damage reduction, and he also does so at 100% uptime. And this has led to a very big problem. Like, for example, how can it be that if like the minimum requirements on clearing Abyss 1 aren't having an A5 Kigiri or have Wukong or have all these other heroes? No, the minimum requirements to even attempt this stage are to have a FERSSI. Because if you don't have a FERSSI, you're just getting shredded. And that's not even all where FERSSI dominates. The same goes for Titanic Ruins. You don't want to play APOC 2 without FERSSI. You don't want to play Abyss 1 without FERSSI. You most certainly don't want to play the new Gear Rate 2 stages 22 to 24 without FERSSI, because once again those are mainly focused on AoE damage. And after that, yeah, there's another codex where, I mean, you cannot get rid of him even if you wanted to, and that is the Healing Codex, the Wasteland Titan. Once again, if you don't have a FERSSI there, it's pretty much already game over. So the big issue is FERSSI's too strong, not necessarily, but FERSSI is too unique. The fact that only FERSSI himself has AoE damage reduction, that it stacks with all the other damage reductions, which it should, but that he's the only one who can make that happen, is a problem. It's been a problem ever since, but the fact that not having a single legendary, a very, very specific one, locks you out of so much content, or at least caps your achievements in said content so hard, just cannot be. It's just FERSSI being a huge problem. Outside of him giving the AoE damage reduction, obviously you also have Sans Bestowal, where the allies, if they take AoE damage, also receive more healing, overall making it easier to keep allies alive. Then you also have heals allies in range one time with a multiplier, and also the inspiration. The inspiration at least isn't all that crazy, but overall you're looking at a hero that is a must-have in anything AoE. And this also kind of leads us to how the devs make bosses. Because bosses at the moment, or specifically bosses that need to be fought with multiple heroes, bosses that are one target versus many, they always end up in a slugfest of how do we prevent the players from bringing as many DPS as possible, because otherwise our content would be too stale, too lame, too easy, whatever you might want to call it. And 99% of the time it ends up being, okay, so players have to have minimum bring a FERSSI and then a second healer, otherwise they're gonna die. Same was true for Guild Wars 2, same is true for Abyss 1 now. And I don't know, it kind of has to do with balancing, or maybe even the whole way this game works. And that is because we don't really see single target damage as a way to make us bring more healthy units or whatnot. What we do see is AoE damage, and when we see single target damage, that single target damage is only ever going to be against highest HP unit. So that, for example, we're like, okay, sure, we have one instance where one unit gets hit really, really hard. I guess we have to bring a tank so the tank can absorb the hits, and then we don't have to worry, and only once again we have to worry about the AoE damage. And it also leads down this vicious cycle of, okay, how can we make players pay more attention to survival? Okay, AoE damage. But they have a FERSSI. And then all of a sudden you can't really do anything, because if you make the AoE damage so high that even a FERSSI doesn't help survive there, then nobody's gonna be able to play the content. But if you make the AoE damage so high that you need a FERSSI to survive, those without a FERSSI cannot even attempt it. So yeah, it's the important part here is, with all these buffs, with all these reworks that we're getting, we need more comparable heroes to FERSSI. We need more heroes, at least one or two, that also have the ability to apply the AoE damage reduction. There has to be an alternative to this Scaly bitch. There has to be something else that could be done. Because the most frustrating part is looking at something and being like, okay, I don't have a FERSSI, it's game over. If you rethink back to the Egg Hunt event, or which was also true for the anniversary event last year, and that is the Voltron fight. The Voltron fight, or even make it the Voltron fight, make it the Emerald fight. In both fights, you had a target you wanted to hit, while also a lot of stuff was happening on the sides. But again, AoE damage was prevalent, because to force players to use survival tactics, AoE damage is just the most common tool the devs use. Because it hits more heroes at the same time, meaning you have to at minimum bring like 1 or 2 healers to keep all of them alive. And that's again where FERSSI comes in, just heavily reducing that AoE damage taken. Best example, Emerald boss fight in Boss Hunt. You can place your units in the middle, big ice drops down, huge damage, unless you have a FERSSI. All of a sudden it's not that big of a damage anymore, and then you can just chill in the middle, fight the boss, win. Same goes for the Voltron fight, where Voltron flies around, he does all that beautiful stuff, and then if you kill him, he goes into the air and he crashes down. He does big amounts of AoE, the closer the units are to him, the bigger the damage. Add in a FERSSI, and you're basically going to be able to find a way to survive, which is the way it should be. But it's also too much or too easy for you to like come to that conclusion in a sense. So it's always like, devs introduce AoE damage, you bring FERSSI. Devs introduce damage mechanic, which is again AoE, you bring FERSSI. So it feels like every piece of content we've gotten in the last 1.5 years, basically, or everything we will get in the future, is going to be heavily dominated by this Scaly bitch. And if you don't have him, you're fucked. You are absolutely left behind. AoE damage has to appear on more characters. It cannot be that FERSSI is this almighty powerful god that just dominates every piece of content, because you have to bring him. There is no high-end piece of content that all of a sudden requires different healers that maybe are like more single target focused. No, all of it is AoE damage. So you have to bring AoE damage reduction. It's once again, it's Guild Boss 2, it's Abyss 1, it's Healer Codex, it's Gear Raid 2, the later stages that are going to appear now. It was the whole Egg Hunt event hero character peoples. Wherever the devs try to introduce damage against heroes that we have on the field, so AoE damage, FERSSI, he's just too good. Please figure out a way how FERSSI isn't as important anymore, because it cannot be that he's this too strong guy. He's too strong. You know, this even also brings me to the fact that I haven't yet tested it, but I'm like 99% sure bringing a FERSSI Integrate 2 might just, Integrate 1 even might just once again become a requirement. And yeah, that's just not good.